Hello and welcome back to the Toledo Rockets podcast. Um, Today, I'm really excited about the episode because we have some football recruiting news, three new commitments, and little hint here that two of them are offensive linemen through the transfer portal. So that's some pretty exciting news. Um, I'm gonna start though first looking at the men's basketball team and just an update after their game last night, and then we'll go into the talking about the football recruiting. So, I had mentioned the other day that this game at Kent State that was played last night, that this was going to be a very key game for Toledo. Obviously, we want to see them win that game, and they did not. But even bigger was that they were in the game and that they weren't blown out. The final score was 75 to 63, but it was closer than that final score indicated. And just give a little wrap up of the game. I've got some stats here and so forth. Kent State led most of the first half. Toledo went on a run late in the first half and took a 35 to 32 lead at the half. However, Kent State came out on fire in the second half, outscoring Toledo 19 to 6 over the first 8 or 9 minutes or so of the second half, and they took a 10-point lead. Toledo fought their way back. They cut it down to two, and they even took a 1-point lead at one point, but missed baskets down the stretch really hurt Toledo, and Kent State made their free throws, and that was the difference at the end, and it stretched out to a 12-point victory in the end for Kent State. Toledo, they didn't play that poorly, and they were in the game. Showed that they can compete with Kent State, who I again think is probably the best team in the conference right now with the way they're playing. The big problem though was that Toledo was out rebounded, especially offensive rebounds. They were out rebounded 44 to 35 altogether, but Kent State had 20 offensive rebounds. Toledo had 10. 20 offensive rebounds though for Kent State. That's an awful lot. And they scored 22 second chance points. So essentially that means that they scored 22 points after rebounds and so forth. So, that definitely hurt. Toledo shot really well in the first half, especially with the run at the end of the first half. They shot 50% from the field, but then only 34% in the second half. And that really hurt too. Also, the Rockets were just 5 of 10 from the foul line in the second half and a 61.5% for the entire game. 61% for a game from the foul line. Those are uncontested, right? Nobody's putting their hand in your face. You're shooting from the foul line. You should shoot better than 61%. That really hurt. So I mentioned the rebounding was, probably the biggest key to losing this game. And here's a quote from Coach K last night about the game. He said, "Tonight was a high-level competitive game with both teams playing exceptionally hard. I was happy with how we defended, but we gave up too many offensive rebounds and second chance points against a very good Kent State team." So he hit the nail right on the head. The question is, can he fix this issue? Because we've seen this before. Offensive rebounds have hurt this team. The other team gets offensive rebounds. And, he says that he was happy with how Toledo defended. I'm not sure how much of that was Toledo's defense compared to Kent State just missing a lot of baskets. I think they shot around 35%, 40% for the game. So not the greatest in the world, but they kept getting the offensive rebounds. And to me, that's not playing good defense because you're not boxing out and getting the rebounds like you should. It's one thing for a team to get rebounds, particularly on the defensive side, but 20 offensive rebounds, to me, that's not playing good defense. So I think, again, the team struggled defensively, and this is a common theme that really needs to get fixed. This is a good team. Like we said before, they're really one of the top high-scoring offenses in the country. But in order to really compete with the best in the MAC, they're going to have to be better defensively and rebounding, not giving up so many offensive rebounds, which is part of defense to me. So, this is an interesting game. The Toledo fell to 1-2, but they didn't play necessarily that badly. They competed well against what seems like the top team in the conference right now. Ball State, by the way, lost to Ohio University. It was at Ohio, but Ball State started out hot in the first half. I think they had like a 10, 12-point lead at one point, and then they went really cold, and Ohio ended up taking like a 10, 12-point lead somewhere in there. And I think that they won, I can't remember. I was thinking it was like 8 points or something. So Ball State now has a conference loss. Kent State is the team right now to beat. They're 3-0. And Toledo showed they can compete with them, but they won't play them again unless they play in the tournament. And at 1-2, Toledo's kind of behind the 8 ball right now in terms of regular season and trying to get the regular season title. So for the Rockets on Saturday, they'll travel to DeKalb, Illinois, try and even up their conference record to 2-2. They'll play at Northern Illinois, who is 5-11 overall and 1-2 in the MAC. Northern Illinois just posted their first conference victory last night with a 73-54 victory over Central Michigan. Central Michigan, not necessarily the best team in the MAC either. So wouldn't read too much into Northern Illinois winning that game by 19 points, but probably shows that they're going to be enough of a challenge on the road for Toledo. The team, Toledo just hasn't played as well on the road as they have at home. And that's a game that it's definitely a key game. Toledo just cannot lose this game and fall to 1-3. It just, at that point, you might as well forget about a 1 or 2 seed going into the MAC tournament. The team would really have to regroup a lot. And, it's like I said, it's a good team. They just need to fix some things defensively and not give up so many offensive rebounds. And, as a team that likes to shoot from the outside and scores a lot of points, you're going to have those time periods where you kind of go hot and you go cold, right? And you see that in their games. Like they'll go on a run like they did late in the first half against Kent State and took the lead. And then at the beginning of the second half, they were cold, and Kent State, went from being down 3 up by 10. And you're going to see those things with a team that shoots a lot from the outside. But, I have seen the Rockets do a better job this year, I think, of getting good baskets inside as well. So that will hopefully help to not have so many of those bad streaks throughout the game. But they do like to shoot their 3-pointers. And, I can look at the stats here really quick. Let's see here. This game was not the best game for shooting threes. 7 out of 27 3-point attempts, 25.9%. And, you kind of wonder, you're only 25% from the 3-point line. Why are you continuing to shoot? They were 4 of 11 in the first half. Then in the second half, it was 3 of 16. So I don't know. Yeah, when you're not hitting your 3-pointers, I'm not sure that you can continue. You should continue to shoot 3-pointers, but that's what happened in this game. So, it's hard to say. Again, they only shot 34% in the second half. So whether it was from the 3-point line or closer in, excuse me, they were really struggling anyway, shooting. So. And they did have their moments in the second half where they shot a little better. And that's that streakiness I was talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I think maybe they shouldn't have shot as many 3-pointers as they did. Should have been looking a little more inside. But it's hard to say. JT Shoemate was 1 for 4 from the 3-point line. Ray J. Dennis was 1 for 7. Raheem Moss was 1 for 6. Sorry about that. Still have this cough going. Um, the best 3-point shooter in the game was Dante Maddox, was 2 of 4. But, you know, and the other thing that was interesting after the big game, in the last game against Western Michigan, Tyler Cochran started in this game, but he only had 4 points. He struggled a little bit. His minutes ended up being down, and Dante Maddox, who came off the bench, had 29 minutes compared to Tyler's 20 minutes. So Dante played a little more and did seem to play better. He had 9 points in the game. Neither one of them had, foul trouble or anything. I can't even talk right now. Sorry. Maddox also had 4 rebounds, where Cochran did not have any rebounds, and Cochran did turn the ball over 3 times. So it was interesting after seeing Cochran play so well in the last game that kind of came back down to earth, I guess, in this game and didn't play as well. So hopefully in the next one, he'll play better, and we'll have to see how that goes. So that's my basketball update. Now I want to talk about football recruiting. And like I said, I'm really excited for the news that has come out. First of all, there's 2 transfers from the transfer portal that have committed to Toledo today. And then there's either today or yesterday, I should say. And then there is a tight end from high school that committed. So we're going to talk about the tight end really quick first. His name is Donovan Thomas, 6'5", 220 pounds, from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Haven't found a whole lot of information yet on him, but he has committed. I think he actually committed yesterday, if I remember correctly. And signing day, we are exactly 3 weeks, I guess, from Wednesday, February 1st. So we have about 3 weeks before he can sign. So he is a verbal commitment at this point, as well as the 2 offensive linemen that I'm going to talk about. So that's Thomas. And then now let's talk about the offensive lineman. And, this goes back to, I've talked about this a lot here since I started the podcast up last year. I felt like we needed to really upgrade the offensive line and get some players in here that have been in a college program for a while. So they are, they're under the weight program, the strength and conditioning program for a while, and maybe have some collegiate experience, even if it's just in practices, if not in games. And we really needed that to help with some of the young players that are also being brought in. And I was wanting to see 2 offensive line transfers out of the transfer portal. And first, I wasn't sure if it was going to happen because we went through early signing period and nothing was happening. And now finally, here we are, second week of January, and boom, we've got 2 offensive linemen. First one here is David Nogugu, and I did check the pronunciation on that. It's Nogugu. He is a 6'5", 305-pound transfer from Rutgers, and I believe he has 1 year of eligibility left. He's the second transfer, by the way, from Rutgers. The first one's already signed, and that is wide receiver Sean Munnerlin. So David Nogugu is the second guy to come from Rutgers. Obviously, he's just verbally committed right now because he can't sign until February 1st. And he was a 3-star prospect coming out of high school from Bronx, New York. He actually started at Temple. He played 3 years at Temple to start his career before going to Rutgers in 2021. His first year at Temple, he redshirted back in 2018. He played a little bit in 2019 and 2020, and then he played a little bit in 2021 and 2022 with Rutgers. I think it was like 5 games the one year and 6 games the other year. So about half the season at Rutgers each year. Um, so I did save 4 years of playing there, right? And that's because of the COVID 2020 year that you don't have to count towards eligibility. So that's why he has one more year left and is transferring over to Toledo for the 2023 season. He visited Toledo, I believe it was just this last weekend, had visited Kent State right before that, but he is committed to Toledo. And then and 6'5", 305 pounds. And again, he's been in college here for a while now. So he's like 4 or 5 years in college strength and conditioning program, playing against, top talent, right? So that's a good win for what I was looking for. And now we look at the other guy, offensive lineman Rod Orr, 6'6", 300 pounds. He's a transfer from Florida State. And if I have everything correctly, he has 3 years of eligibility remaining. He was a 4-star offensive tackle out of high school. And On3 Recruiting Service had him as a top 300 overall recruit. He was the number 277 overall recruit in their 2021 recruiting class. He's from Gadsden, Alabama. And so I have him as redshirting, I believe it was in 2021, where I think he played in like 3 or 4 games, so it could be considered a redshirt. And then 2022, he played some as well. Not a whole lot, but he did play some. So he should still have 3 years of eligibility remaining. And he has had 2 years in a program, or 1.5 years, whatever you want to say, in a big time Division I program, Florida State, in their strength and conditioning program, and playing against good collegiate competition. So both of these offensive linemen bring in exactly what I was hoping for out of the transfer portal for Toledo. 2 guys that have collegiate experience. They have time in a strength and conditioning program in Division I, and they're going to be able to provide quality playing time in the fall. Excuse me again. So, I'm really excited about what they're going to be able to bring to the program. And you look at, or I'm pretty sure he has 3 years of eligibility still remaining at this point. So it's like bringing in a guy, a guy that's just going to be a sophomore. So that's really good. And again, he was very highly recruited out of high school. He hadn't been able to really crack into a lot of playing time for Florida State through his first 2 years there, but he has the potential to be a really good player in Toledo's program. And you add these guys with some of the young guys that were already in the program. Some were redshirting or just playing a little bit, and then the incoming freshman that just signed out of high school on the offensive line. And I think if you look at all of that, we are upgrading the offensive line, which we needed to do. No question about it. And, I've talked about it before about how, Finn and Gleason were running for their life a lot when they went back to pass. And some of that is, some of the footwork technique, and, some of it's probably experience and, talent. And we lost, we're losing some of the offensive line too, right? So whether it's a graduation or there's one player that was transferring out, Lavelle Dumont was transferring out. So, bringing in these players, these 2 transfers, and the new freshmen coming in, and some of the guys that were already in the program, starting to get, better at with being in the program and get stronger. This is good. Offensive line is excuse me. Offensive line is a big position in terms of developing and getting stronger. A lot of the guys, it's one thing to be in a strength and conditioning program in high school and then go to college, and it's completely different. The strength and conditioning program is just completely different for many colleges compared to high schools. And getting some of these guys that have already had this experience and are already built more developed, stronger, and then the guys that have been in the program for the last year or two that are getting stronger. I think this is really going to help the offensive line. So it'll be interesting to see in the fall how the offensive line gels and how they play. And we've had some issues with injuries as well in the past. I didn't really talk a lot about that, but that has hurt as well. And the more players you bring in that are physically ready, whether it's because they've been in another program or they've been here and redshirted and they're physically stronger, physically ready, the more that you have there, the more depth, the better your offensive line is going to be, especially throughout the season as there's injuries and so forth. So this is, this has got me really excited. And for me, it's huge for the team. I think this recruiting class was pretty good from what signed in the early signing period. And now you add in the tight end and these two offensive line transfers from Rutgers and Florida State to big time programs, right? FBS, Power 5 programs. This is huge. And I'm excited to see how this translates in, spring practices and then in the fall when we get to games. So really excited about this. Yeah, I know I just keep saying that, but I'm really excited to see these offensive line transfers come in. And they're going to help some of the young guys too, because they've got that college experience and they know what it's like in the strength and conditioning program. So really excited to see that. And, I don't want to keep saying I'm so excited, but I am. So can't wait to see that. Now, tonight, just really quick, tonight, the Toledo women's basketball team plays at Northern Illinois, I believe it is. So there will be, the next day or two, we'll be able to do an update on how they're doing. It wasn't Northern Illinois. I'm sorry. They just lost at Northern Illinois in their last game on Saturday. So I apologize for that. Their game tonight, I need to pull this up real quick because I forgot already. But let me pull that up. They are playing Ball State at Toledo. I should have known that. So it's at Savage Arena. And this is going to be an interesting game. Ball State is a very good team. I can't remember exactly. I think they're like 11-3 or 12-3, something like that on the season. So they are a very good team. And this is going to be a good game to see because, like I said before, the women's basketball team had that 17-point lead at Northern Illinois going into the fourth quarter and kind of had the meltdown in the fourth quarter and lost by 1 point in a game that they should have won. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. I think that Coach Cullup is going to have them very focused and ready to go in this one. Ball State is a team that played Toledo very tough last year. They're a very good team, good sound basketball team. And, this one's at Savage Arena. There should be a great crowd tonight. And it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully the Rockets are able to pull it off. And I'm sure we'll do a recap in the next day or two about that game. So that's it for today. Again, I'm really excited about the offensive line transfers that are coming in. Of course, they're just committed at this point. They have to wait until February 1st to sign, but really excited about that. And thanks for watching today, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.